So the topic is ADB really set up to deliver results? So I'm going to talk about that by going through the Development Effectiveness Review and some of the findings and conclusions. So how would you know if an organization is really set up to deliver results? So I'd look for four things. One, do they have a strategy? Is it clear about the strategic directions? And are there results frameworks that are closely aligned with that strategy and then cascaded down within the organization and programmatically? Is results really integrated into the DNA of the organization, into the way that the organization manages itself? Is the management of results, the performance, the reporting, is that really done in a systematic and transparent manner? And very importantly, is the organization one that reflects and learns and then feeds that back into performance? So I'm going to look at these four things and talk about ADB and how we match up against these four dimensions. So the first thing is the corporate results framework. So we have a four-level framework. Level one is really looking outside into the region to our DMCs and how they're progressing. And this green line here is very important. This separates the external from the internal. And the internal, we're really focusing in on ADB and how we do things. So level two, I always say this is like looking in the rearview mirror of a car when you're driving. This tells us where we've been, what we've done in the past, what we've achieved from our completed operations. So this is very much part of the history of our performance. Level three, I like to think about it standing on the bridge of a container ship carrying projects to our DMCs. And a container ship is something that it doesn't shift course very rapidly. It turns gradually, incrementally. So here we're measuring, is ADB proceeding in those kind of directions? Is it delivering the types of projects, whether it's gender equality mainstreaming or private sector operations or climate change, those types of projects. And then level four is really like being in the engine room of that container ship. So this is all the money and the people and the systems, are they all working together in concert to propel us where we need to go? So we have the framework and it's really measuring all of those different dimensions of what we're doing. It's then cascaded in two different ways. So one, programmatically, down through country partnership strategies, sector and thematic operational plans, all the way down to our project design and monitoring frameworks. And it's cascaded organizationally. So each of you works in a department that does an annual results-based work plan. It's linked to the corporate results framework, and that's cascaded down through your divisions, units, to your own individual work plans. So all of you have kind of line of sight back up to the corporate strategy. The second feature is really the integration into the management cycle. So this is the corporate management cycle, and the Development Effectiveness Review has a very key position in kind of evaluating, taking stock of our performance, and it feeds directly into the President's planning directions. This wasn't always the case. So until 2010, the report was produced, but it didn't have that kind of traction within the organization. Since then, it's been time to feed into the planning directions. It's presented at the annual meeting. And so we can really see now it's an integral part of the management cycle. In terms of the reporting, we have a very systematic, transparent corporate report card. This is our scorecard. Right away, you can see all the areas that are green, we're doing well, amber, maybe not so well, and red, where we need to focus more on. So very systematic, transparent presentation of our performance. So what about the other dimensions? Are we delivering results? Are we reflecting on what we're doing? Are we learning? So to examine those, I'm going to go in a little bit more detail into the actual performance from 2016. So if we took a step back and we said, what's the kind of headline about our performance? We would say that we see that many things are starting to work. So our efforts, the reforms that we've been undertaking are starting to work. Performance is improving. Many indicators we see are going up. However, there's still a few areas which are off track and we need to do more work. So this gives us an overall sense of the indicators. And you can see over time the gradual increase in the percentage that are green. So in the first 3 years, we have green, amber, and red. In the final year, we only have green or red. So we either made the target or we didn't make it. And this 38% red, it's really important to see how the difference between these, because not all reds are the same. So in about 8%, we almost met the target. So if the target was 80% for sovereign success rate, we got 78%. So close. But in our scoring system, we're very rigid, we're tough on ourselves, and if we didn't meet the target, then it's red. But it's, we can almost consider it green. Another 10%, the trajectory is in the right direction. So we're not close to the target, but we're moving in the direction of the target. This 20% is of more concern. So this is, we've either stagnated, so we're going along, but we're not going towards the target, we're below it, or even worse, we're heading in the wrong direction. So this 20% is certainly an area of concern. So to dive in, I thought I would try and go through what the president had talked about at the annual meeting in Baku, building a stronger, better, and faster ADB. So I'll talk about stronger in terms of development finance, better in terms of success, focus in on gender, also strategic alignment, and faster at the project level. So stronger, I think we can all really celebrate that ADB is absolutely getting stronger. So 2016 was a record-breaking year. So we had the highest number of approvals, we had the highest amount of co-financing coming in, and we had the highest amount of disbursements. So all records. We also had the record number of approvals, so 145 operations approved. And if you look over time from 2011 to 2016, there's been a 26% growth in approvals. So definitely ADB is getting stronger. From the development effectiveness review, we met the co-financing target of 70%. Personal surprise for me, I didn't think we would get there. Our disbursement ratio, very close for ADF and improved for ADB, although not at the target. And we have 2 targets for PPPs, public-private partnerships, and we met both of those. So definitely the development effectiveness review is telling us that ADB is fulfilling the stronger of the stronger, better, faster. So what about better? So one of the things we want to look at is, are our projects successful? Again, this is looking in the rearview mirror. So this is things that have closed in the last few years. Slightly different story whether we're looking at sovereign or non-sovereign operations. So with sovereign operations, on an annual basis, we surpassed the 80% target for the first time. We got 86. And on a 3-year rolling average, very, very close, 77%. So we can definitely see a strong upward trend for sovereign operations. For non-sovereign, not the same story. So non-sovereign hovering around the high 60s. And here the story is really the difference between the infrastructure projects in non-sovereign versus the finance. So historically, the finance sector in non-sovereign has not done as well as the infrastructure, who has had very, very high success rates. Sustainability, not so good a story. So if you look at sustainability, our target also 80% for successful and sustainable sovereign operations, and we're in that kind of band in the mid-60s. So sustainability, something we definitely need to focus more on and ensure that our projects keep delivering results after the project is closed. However, a few things that we can maybe take some comfort in when we look at the data by the year of approval. So completed projects that were approved later for non-sovereign finance sector, we see quite a dramatic increase in the success rates. So the numbers are small, but we can take heart that we've for very old projects, there was about a 50-50 success failure. For much newer projects, we're now about 82%, although again, the numbers are small. Also, a good news story when we look at more recently approved projects with respect to sustainability. So again, a small number of projects, but those approved 2011, 2012, very sustainable. However, we still have a problem in two very key sectors, so transport and water and other urban infrastructure and services. Even when you look at the data by year of approval, it's either plateaued or sustainability is going down. So here as an organization, we have to recognize this issue. We have to do things differently with our design for those types of operations. So you can't talk about better without talking about gender equality and the difference we're making for half of the population of the Asian and the Pacific region. So this is a kind of a map of how we've been doing and the region's been doing on gender. Let me zero in on two particular areas. So one is the success rates of completed projects delivering gender results. So here we've been very strong. So when projects close, we can see a very strong increase from 60 to 70 to 74%. So our projects that are designed to deliver gender equality results are delivering them. We've met the target in the last 2 years. However, we have a bit of an issue when it comes to mainstreaming. So this is when the projects are designed, are they really building in the features that are going to bring differential benefits for women versus men? Here it's still green. So the development effectiveness review is kind of playing the role of the canary in the coal mine, if you will. So we're giving an early warning signal that although it was still green, in the last year we saw a 7 percentage point drop. Why was that? Because of fewer gender mainstream projects in roads, both urban and rural roads, and urban water supply and sewerage. So again, the target is green. We met the target, but we see this drop, and that's another area that we need to concentrate on to correct. So part of that is strategic alignment. Overall, ADB is very, very strong on strategic alignment. So when the direction comes down from the bridge of the container ship, we start changing course right away and sailing in that new direction. So in all of these dimensions, the targets were met or exceeded for strategic alignment. However, one in particular that I'd like to focus in is private sector operations. So we have a target that by 2020, a quarter of what we do in terms of OCR approvals will be for private sector operations. What we saw is that the interim target for 2016, we almost met it in 2015 and then fell short in 2016. In real terms, this was only the difference of maybe $100 million, so not a big decline in real terms, but what we've seen is an increase in OCR. So as part of the stronger ADB, as part of the growth in approvals, the relative share for private sector operations has declined. Then if we look out 3 years into the future using the WPBF, we can see that really a kind of status quo approach to private sector operations is not going to get us to the target of 25%. So even with a growth that's projected in the WPBF, we're not going to get there. So this is a recognized issue. PSOD is already working on a private sector operational framework that will look at staffing and other measures to boost us up and get us to the 25% target by 2020. So the third part of what the President said is faster. So this has always been a perennial issue for ADB. The quote I like best was from the previous New Zealand AED, who said, ADB delivers results, comma, eventually. So we have an issue with delivery of on-time projects. So we've diagnosed this, and what we know is that when you have problems at the design stage, these then compound throughout the life cycle of the project. And they lead to the projects being delayed, or the benefits being reduced, and the efficiency being reduced. So what have we done about this? ADB is a learning organization. We've learned from these challenges. We've undertaken reforms. At the pre-approval stage, we put a great emphasis on design readiness. And we can see already that we've improved in terms of infrastructure design readiness and gone from about 53% to 75%. Detailed engineering design as a subset, even more crucial. Almost half of the projects now have detailed engineering design infrastructure before approval. And procurement readiness has also gone up. Are the bidding documents launched before the project is approved. We can see also some improvements in implementation. So the time we take to review contracts when they come in has dropped quite significantly. And in terms of bringing consultants on board, advertising to mobilization dropped by about 25%. Very good news, again, small numbers in terms of cost overruns. We see with the later approvals almost 100% on budget. And extremely good news, delays are reducing. So when we looked at projects that were approved quite a long time ago, 2000 to 2001, 89%. So 9 out of 10 projects did not finish on time. When we look at much more recently, it's only about a third. So significant improvements there, and we see the success rate also improving. However, the battle is not won by any means. We still have over half of our projects and infrastructure approved without detailed engineering design. Our approval to first contract, almost 60% exceeded the target. Still takes a year to award a single stage $10 million contract. Our projects still completing almost 2 years behind schedule on average. And as I mentioned before, our sustainability rate needs to come up. So looking forward, this is the end of this results framework. We're now looking to the next one, and we're reflecting on what are the challenges that we face in the region that Strategy 2030 will need to address. 1.5 billion people still don't have modern sanitation. About 500 million don't have electricity. 250 million don't have access to clean drinking water. For women, bringing new life into the world, which should be a real high point, is often costing women their own lives. This is an MDG target that we have not achieved. It remains outstanding. And we still have issues with underweight children. So when we think about the new agendas of sustaining prosperity in Asia and the Pacific region, some of the issues we're facing, so we know disasters are a huge drag, a huge cost for the region. We have issues with CO2 emissions and inequality. Although inequality is not increasing in most of our DMCs, it is increasing in the 3 most populous DMCs, which is a concern. Though we can look to some strengths that are emerging, such as the cost for renewable energy decreasing and increased penetration of the internet and mobile technology. So just to bring it back together then, in terms of are we set up to deliver results? We are delivering results. We have the type of framework in place. We have it integrated within our management systems. We do the systematic and transparent measurement and performance reporting, and we are reflecting, learning, and that is feeding into our performance.